A bicycle dragged through mud on purpose could look at first glance like affection, a hobby for people with enough leisure to invent their own hardship. Orwell's instinct here was always to scrape the varnish off things and see who paid for the shine. But then he would notice the details that refuse romance. No freewheel means no pretending. The machine does exactly what the rider does, no more, no less. Stop pushing and you are stopped. Push badly and you are carried badly. There is no polite mechanism translating effort into comfort. Cause and effect sit together like plain words in a short sentence. He would approve of that clarity. Tracklocross strips away the ornamental language of sport. No glossy surfaces, no aerodynamic promises, no chrome vocabulary of speed and victory, just a rider, a simple machine, and ground that answers back. In this, he would sense an honesty rare in modern pastimes, a rejection of spectacle in favour of function. Mud is not symbolic here, for it is simply mud, cold, adhesive, inconvenient, clings to the frame and governs the drivetrain, and makes forward motion inefficient. To ride through it is to accept friction as fact, not metaphor. Orwell valued precisely this refusal to let words drift away from their material conditions. Difficulty should feel difficult. He would like the lack of grandeur. Tracklocross rarely occupies official spaces. It slips off the canal paths and into the edges of fields, scraps of land between infrastructures. It uses what exists rather than what has been curated. This would read to him as quietly democratic, not exclusive in the way polished sports can be, but open to anyone willing to get dirty and give it a shot. The pace would matter. There is no elegant glide, no detached coasting. Progress is granular, made of repeated small efforts. This would echo his belief in the dignity of ordinary labour, not the dramatic gesture, but the sustained one. The revolution of the crank, like the turning of a page, the lifting of a tool, the daily act, done again because it must be. He was wary of style. If the mud became fashion, if the hardship became branding, he would turn away. He distrusted any suffering that could be tidied into an image. But when the ride is simply what it looks like, a person moving themselves across imperfect ground by their own effort, he would see a kind of moral hygiene in it. No euphemisms, no abstractions. Language and machine would align. A fixed gear bike is syntactically strict. You cannot add clauses of convenience, no conditional coasting, no subjective spinning. Every sentence is declarative. I pedal, therefore I move. I stop, therefore I halt. Orwell believed good prose should work the same way, direct, unadorned, resistant to fog. There is also the politics in the terrain. Off-road, away from traffic, the rider slips briefly outside systems designed for speed and throughput. The journey becomes inefficient by design. In a world obsessed with productivity, choosing a slower, harder route reads like a small act of dissent, not loud enough to be slogan, but steady enough to be stance. He would notice the solitude without isolation. Tracklocross is often done alone, yet rarely feels lonely. Paths are shared, tracks reused, traces of other tyres crossing your own, a quiet commons of effort. This would appeal to his belief in ordinary solidarity, the untheorised bond between people doing practical things in difficult situations. No heroics, no podiums, no anthems. Just breath and cold air, legs turning, tyres cutting soft earth. The kind of activity that resists propaganda because it is too specific to be mythologised. You cannot easily lie about how hard it is to pedal through wet grass on a one-gear bike. Your body edits this exaggeration. He would see it as a discipline of attention. You cannot drift. The ground demands reading, ruts, roots, stones, patches of thaw and freeze. Every metre asks a question and expects an answer now. The vigilance against inattention mirrors his insistence on intellectual clarity, to look properly, to name accurately, to move deliberately. Tracklocross would not be escape for him. It would be a way of remaining in contact with the physical truth of effort, a reminder that motion costs energy, that terrain resists intention, that progress is negotiated rather than assumed, In that friction between will and world, he would find something worth preserving. Not a romance of mud, but a respect of it. Not a cult of suffering, but an acceptance of work. A plain machine, a stubborn path, a rider who cannot coast through either language or life without first pushing the pedals.